Thanks so much for tuning into this conversation. I'm Niraj Shah, and we've been talking to companies which are benefiting from select pockets of orders that are coming in from the government side. A lot of them happening in defense, a lot of them happening in railways and infrastructure. So the current conversation is on railways because Texmaco Rail is amongst the few companies which are executing a large portion of the orders that are coming in on the railway side. Mr. Indrajit Mookerjee joins in right now to talk about his thoughts around all that's happening in the space and where would Texmaco fit in and what is it that the company will do beyond the obvious. Mr. Mookerjee, thank you so much for taking the time out, sir.
Thank you.
I want to start off with something that I read in the con call, which was your comment, which interested me. And just give us a basic idea of where is Texmaco present currently in the segments that you are in, the large pieces of your business that is, and where do you reckon or what do you reckon Texmaco could look like 24 months down the line?
Well, I think this is an exciting time for us. You have already mentioned of the government initiative in the infrastructure. One of the major component of the infrastructure development in India is really the movements on the railway segment. I'm sure you are aware of the National Rail Plan, which is a very ambitious plan announced by Indian Railway, where the aspiration is to, or aspiration may not be the right word, but the target is to go up the transportation by freight movement from somewhere about 1.4 billion ton, that's happening right now, to go up to 3 billion ton by 2027-28. Also, which means it's a double jump. And also it will improve, the market share will move from road transportation to railway transportation, which is all very good, particularly in the current concept, because it is going to reduce the carbon footprint to a very great extent. Now, that's the scenario. So if I can give you that is a background scenario, then you find Texmaco as a player in most of the segments which are in this. For example, in fact, we call ourselves rail solution provider. So we are making freight cars, which is the railway wagons. We are in the areas of making components for wagons. We are also doing lots of work on the components for the locomotive engines, like we make the body shells, etc. We also are a very major player doing the tracks, laying tracks. And as you know, that one of the major track that's been laid, it's a radical change in the Indian Railway is the laying of the dedicated freight corridor. And that's where we are playing a very important role in the consortium. There is a consortium of 3 or 4 companies, and we are one of the major players doing the track and signaling, telecommunications. Yet, we are also in the electrifications. We have a division that's going to do the electrifications for railway. So you can take all these put together. They are all in the segment what is being encouraged by the government of India and the Indian Railway. And I must tell you something, that this has made us to also to start and transform and re-energize ourselves. And we found that we need to be energetic enough, and we have to be innovative, we have to be fast, agile, we have to be, we also are, one of our major area also is to develop our business with sustainability, taking care of the green environment. So all these are opportunities which also is energizing us while achieving our target.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of buckets. I would love to split this and then, of course, get on to all the key recent news flow as well. But just wondering, there was an interaction that we did with one of the PSU majors, which has maybe the right of first refusal or otherwise for laying tracks, and they were saying, and under this new scheme of refurbishing and relaying and actually laying the newer tracks as well, the track laying business itself could be multiple times what it is currently. You are present in, as you said, wagons, components, laying tracks, and some other factors. Where do you reckon is the fastest possibility and the longest possibility of growth, in which segment where you might participate as well?
Let me also tell you that in our process of transformation, and I think I'm going to answer to you only. I'm not going to digress. But I have to give you a background.
Sure.
The basic. Let me tell you that our strategy is to be excelling in the technology. We want to be a technology company where we want to be different through bringing in uh, technology as well as services which are of global quality.
Mhm.
And you know that we also have a few connections, like one you know that we have in one particular component. We are with Waptec, which is a very very well known company, erstwhile GE, and we our major area is to be a technology company. Now, in that, we find that we have a tremendous scope in the freight cars, in the component business. So, answering your question, we are more concentrating on the building of high quality, uh, more efficient uh, freight cars and the components for the freight cars. This is in the freight business. And of course, we are also looking at, because there is also development that's taking place, is on the passenger mobility. So we haven't done anything so far because first we want to be excelling in what we are doing right now. And then that's also another area where we have our eyes fixed for.
By passenger mobility, you mean electric vehicles for commercial use for individual
I
passengers?
mean, I am talking all on the domain of the rail segment. We are not looking at passenger vehicles at this moment, but we are really looking at the passenger movement, like metro trains and and the similar kind of fast moving trains which are going to come. But I must say that we are not there, but that is in our vision.
Okay, got it. In order to fructify some of your vision and mission statements, I presume, and excel in this quest, you've done a bunch of JVs. The recent announcement was the JV with Hindalco, but there are some new European JVs as well. Can you give us some details about these?
Correct. This is, I think you hit it on the head of the nail. The purpose of making any joint venture is to improve, to supplement our technology and put them into the system so that we could move on that. Now, uh, I have to make one small corrections to you that we don't have a JV with Hindalco. You can perhaps term it as an alliance, and the strategic alliance is also for manufacturing of aluminium wagon, because we think that that's the future. If you look at the world freight market, it's in the US. You take US, or particularly US or Europe, there are aluminium wagons which have been moving because they can improve the load carrying capacity by almost 15 to 20%.
Hmm.
And we feel that that's another step forward to help the country to achieve its green objectives of sustainability. So, uh, just to make it very clear, with Hindalco, we have a strategic alliance.
What's the difference?
Yes,
I'm
we
just
have a
trying to
joint.
understand. What's the difference? I mean, between me calling it a JV and you
This
calling
is
it a strategic alliance?
there are no equity participation between the two companies. So I suppose the JV will be when joint venture will be when there will be two companies coming up and make equity participation. So it's not like that. So
Okay.
if that's the meaning of JV, that also we take into account. Then we have decided to be partner, in which we would be using our uh, both have different competencies.
Hmm.
Hindalco has got its competency of supply of the metal aluminium, which is one of the largest in the world. They also have the fabrications and the welding technology for aluminium metals, and yet we have we have competencies of design, and we can excel in designing of the aluminium car, which should be much better than, which is your global standard. Let me put it that way.
Sure.
And we also would be, we also have production lines, so we have the competencies of building of wagon. So I think these two make tremendous synergistic fit, and that's what the aluminium wagons are concerned. And obviously, once you start carrying more component and more frets, obviously it is going to be useful in terms of uh, the revenue generations. At the same time, it's going to reduce the carbon footprint.
Got it,
So
sir.
that's about the Hindalco.
Got it. Sorry, just one follow-up before we move on to something else. The perception when you made that announcement in certain quarters was that you and Hindalco will do joint bidding of upcoming contracts as they come. Would that be a fair assessment, that there would be a joint bidding?
That is a fair assessment, but you need not be a joint venture to do that.
No, which is fine. Which is fine. But you may do.
That is very
You will
fair
probably
assessment.
do a joint bidding for a lot of projects that will come in. Would it be an
You-
exclusive
if
nature
it
that you
comes,
would
we will
partner with
do that.
Hindalco and Hindalco will partner with you, sir? Sorry.
Yeah, that's what is the understanding. So this is what is the understanding. And you don't need to really go for bidding. We can also develop aluminium wagon market, because there are certain areas which are very critical, particularly in terms of transportations of coal. That's one very important commodity which can be done by aluminium wagon, which will give higher payload capacity. So there are not only bidding, but there can be also be a market business development.
Got it, sir. With your permission, I'm going to take 10 more minutes of your time, sir, because there are a lot of questions which are still unanswered. Can we continue with 10 more minutes, please?
Sure. I was trying to answer a follow-up question
Yes,
that you
please.
asked me about a European joint venture. Yes, we have an European joint venture. We have a joint venture with a company which has their operations in Czech Republic, and they are the second largest wagon manufacturers in terms of numbers in Europe right now. And that company is really growing, because, as you know, that in Europe, the most of the supplies used to be coming in from Ukraine, which has dried up. So this company has an aspiration to go global. And what can be a better market than India? And for us, is very important, because we would use some of their manufacturing technology and some of their designs, which will be of great help to India. So that's a joint venture which should be manufacturing wagons for India, and it could be also supplies to Europe. They can also do. So they can also take They will perhaps take for their to meeting for the European requirements. There is nothing in writing right this moment, but this is the understanding. So that joint venture is very much on in India. The second thing that's happening, the other can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, okay, because suddenly I saw so something has come up. So that's a very strong joint venture, and we are really looking into various other products. And the one area I must mention is that we would be very interested, and we are moving into the manufacturing of the components for freight cars. That's our immediate action. So we have a new profit center for it, where we would be making various components, which could be foundry products coming out of our foundry, which could be fabricated product, for which we have a very well-equipped, precision-skilled fabrication shop in Calcutta. Also, we have a joint venture with Wabtec for friction products, which are for the brakes, which we like to expand further. So all put together, we have found that the component business is a good business, where we should be looking into, not only for India, but also as an export to other countries.
Got it. You're doing multiple things. Sorry. Please finish your point.
No, I think I was also wanted to say that the demand of freight cars also going up in the export market, with specific mention to the African market, where we are playing a very major role at this moment.
Okay. You're doing a lot of things, sir. Is the capacity enough? What are the utilization levels currently? And if you end up doing everything, would you need to expand capacities at some point of time?
Uh, See, we need to, currently we are trying, and so when we pass through a sluggish period, and when you pass through sluggish period, you become inefficient. And that's what perhaps happened to us earlier. But now we have moved ahead to bring in new technology so we can always debottleneck our existing plant. So our plants are getting um, filled up with the new requirement that's coming up. And of course, new capacity is coming because the joint venture itself will give us new capacity.
Got it. Okay. One technical query before we, or two critical queries before we move on to the numbers. You have gotten an enabling resolution to raise up to 500 crore in one or more tranches. Is there an immediate need, or do you reckon this will happen at some point of time later?
Well, we are looking for the fund to come in as soon as possible, because all our aspirations for growth would require more investments than what we are doing right now. So I don't think it's for later. We want to do it sooner than later.
And this would be entirely an equity fundraise of nearly 500 crores?
I I am sorry, I won't be able to say how we are going to do that, but the number that's 500 crores is something which we have a approval from the board. So we really find out whatever is the best economic way to do it. We will do that. We'll follow that procedure.
But this is not necessarily debt. This is equity or equity linked instruments.
You're very right. We want to avoid taking debts.
Got it, sir. The other technical question is on the demerger. Could you tell us a bit about this and what happens to the existing Texmaco rail when demerged? How does the demerger take place?
You see, as I said it earlier, that we are trying to transform ourselves on the basis of our competencies, and our manufacturing is our competency. That's our core competency, and that's where we are. That's what I mentioned by technology company. EPC requires a different competency requirement, different skill sets. And when we were put together, we have this problem of mixture. So we decided that the EPC division, which includes the railway EPC as well as electrifications of railway, etc., which should be a different division, a different company than Texmaco, so that we can focus on two respective areas. So keeping those in mind, we have decided to demerge the EPC company.
Okay. When will this get done and over with, Mr.
I
Mookerjee?
think it takes a little bit of time because one has to go through certain statutory processes.
Okay.
So I was told that it will take a few months to do that.
Got it. Okay. Now, a couple of questions, sir. And I know you were asked on the con call about this, but I'm inquisitive as well about two things related to the numbers. First, this order that you had received, 20,067 wagons, 6,450 crores, and then June you had to revise the orders, give up a part of it. Why did this happen? And could it be that something like this could happen in the forthcoming future as well? Because I know you explained that there are some 6 tranches and you had an issue with, or some issue in the second tranche because of which you gave up a part of that order. Can you tell us why, and can you tell us that whether it may or may not happen in the future?
No, it will not happen in future. We did it so that it doesn't happen in future. And this was a very, very conscious decision. And this decision, I think, will pay us in the long run. It may look to be a little mystical to start with, but I think this is going to pay us in the long run, given the current situation of the numbers of wagons we had to do in a short period of time, compromising or sacrificing the other high profit margin wagons, which we were not able to do because our capacities were getting filled up. But now that we have improved, now that we are in the continuous process of improving the process of manufacturing, increasing the capacity, putting marginal equipments into the system. So now we have this breathing gap to increase the capacity. So I don't think it's going to happen in the future. But what really happened is a very conscious financial decision. And
sorry.
I just wanted to say that, and we strongly believe still that what we did is correct, and we would like to go back to railway and try and talk to them that why we did it and whether we should really be penalized for it or not. I think that's all I can say at this moment.
Okay, just one quick follow-up and just an opinion from you. One is the financial penalty that may get resolved or no, one way or the other, depending on how we negotiate. But does this mean that railways in the future will be circumspect about giving you any kind of orders, or have the order flows continued?
I don't think that will happen because we are one of the major manufacturers. We are, if you look at our market share, we are doing about 20-25% of the railways requirement. I don't think it will be very practical or rational for any buyer to take out one manufacturer out of the market who is giving quality, good products and taking a 20% or 22% market share. So I don't think that will happen. And if it happens, then we'll be very unfortunate, but I don't think it's a possibility.
Got it, sir. My final question, sir, on numbers. You did about 2,200, 2,250 crores in FY23. You started off the year on a YY basis on a very strong footing, I must admit, save for the margins. Now, my question is, I believe on the call you said that the margins will get restored because this was a one-time penalty which led to this. But when I look at the comparative margins for you versus some of the others or the few other players who are there, there is a lot of scope of improvement. Do you reckon margins move up over the course of the next 24 months? Is that a possibility?
It will move up.
Strongly, or would it be a...
Strongly.
Strongly. You believe you can nudge double digits, something that you did in 2020, I believe.
I wouldn't like to talk of numbers, as you know, for very specific reason, because we are, I would like to refrain from giving numbers, okay. But it will go up. And there are lots of actions are in place on improving the efficiencies, cost savings, and higher numbers of all. These are all copybook style production technology which we need to bring in, lean manufacturing, just in time. So all these actions are in place. So the results will start showing up.
Got it. Mr. Mookerjee, thank you so much for being so patient with me and giving us all the answers. We wish you all the best for the quarters ahead and look forward to talk to you post your quarter two numbers, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The pleasure was ours. Viewers, thanks for tuning in.